welcome the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, if I may, I would like to pay tribute to Mandy Damari and her family for the strength that they have shown. And we on this side of the House, and I'm sure the whole House, continue to seek the speedy release of Emily Damari and the other hostages. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talks about immigration. I think it's probably a good time to remind him that he was the one writing letters asking us not to deport foreign criminals. And he and his party voted against every single measure that we put in place to try and limit immigration. But, Mr. Speaker, the question today is what has been on the lips of all Labour MPs, including, I believe, the Health Secretary yesterday. The Prime Minister knowingly appointed a convicted fraudster to be his Transport Secretary. What was he thinking?
Mr. Speaker, the previous Transport Secretary was right when further information came forward to resign. What a marked contrast to behaviour in the last 14 years. And she talks about immigration, record levels of immigration under the previous government, nearly 1 million. And she was the cheerleader. She was the one urging on the removal of the caps for work visas. She was thanking the previous Home Secretary for the work that was done. She championed it. She advocated it. Record numbers of immigration.
Mr. Speaker, he's obfuscating, but I'm going to keep him on the topic. He owes the House an explanation. He said that the former Transport Secretary...
All right, guys. The political temperature exploded from the very first second inside Parliament. The opposition leader opened with emotional remarks about hostages and national security. But the atmosphere instantly turned aggressive when immigration and criminal deportation policies were dragged into the spotlight. Then came the real political grenade. The Prime Minister was accused of knowingly appointing a convicted fraudster as Transport Secretary, triggering outrage across the chamber. While the government tried shifting attention toward immigration failures of the previous administration, critics demanded one simple answer. What exactly did the Prime Minister know before making that appointment?
I was only asked to resign after further information came to light. What was that further information?
I'm not going to disclose private conversations. Further information came to light. The Justice Secretary resigned. As I say, what a marked contrast. But whilst she's obsessing with the Westminster issues, we're getting on with fixing the mess, fixing the foundations, that £22 billion black hole, our prisons bursting, Mr. Speaker, as we found out last week, nearly 1 million net migration numbers because of the Tory open borders policy.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not asking about migration. I'm asking about the former Transport Secretary. He never answers any questions. He never answers any questions. And it looks like he didn't ask his Transport Secretary any questions either. The truth is, he appointed a person convicted of fraud to the Cabinet. The first thing she did was bung hundreds of millions of pounds in pay rises to her trade union friends. Wasn't this a fraud on the British people?
No, Mr. Speaker, she says she's not talking about immigration. I'm not surprised. And I advise her and all of them not to talk about the economy or immigration for another 5 years.
Mr. Speaker, you can try and change.
Now listen carefully, because this confrontation became even more brutal. The opposition refused to let the scandal disappear and accused the Prime Minister of dodging every direct question thrown at him. Tensions escalated as accusations of corruption, cabinet incompetence, and political deception filled the room. One explosive claim suggested the British public had been betrayed after massive pay rises were allegedly handed to union allies. But the Prime Minister fired back aggressively, attacking the previous government's immigration record and blaming them for economic chaos, prison overcrowding, and border failures. At this point, Parliament looked less like a debate and more like an all-out political war zone.
The topic as much as he liked, but the public are watching. He owes them an explanation. The country needs conviction politicians, not politicians with convictions. Now on to an even bigger fraud. Yes. Now on to an even bigger fraud, the budget. Last week, the Prime Minister failed to repeat the Chancellor's pledge of no more borrowing and no more taxes. It is obvious that they are coming back for more. In his manifesto, he committed to making Britain the fastest growing economy in the G7. Does he stand by his own pledge?
Mr. Speaker, I gently remind her that two of her predecessors had convictions for breaking the COVID rules. I'd also invite her to look at the OECD report of this morning, which has upgraded growth for next year and the year after, which now puts us on target to be the highest growing major economy in Europe in the next 2 years. She should welcome that.
Mr. Speaker, I saw the OECD report, and what it said was that they will be coming back for more taxes. And I think the whole House would have heard him fail to repeat his own pledge. He can't even repeat the pledges that he made just a few weeks ago. We are here to stop him from damaging the economy, and that is why we are
But wait, things were only getting worse. The focus suddenly shifted from scandal to the economy, and the attacks became absolutely relentless. The opposition accused the government of preparing more taxes and more borrowing despite earlier promises to the British people. Then came the devastating line about Britain needing politicians with conviction, not politicians with convictions, sending shockwaves through the chamber. The Prime Minister attempted to defend himself using economic growth forecasts and OECD projections, claiming Britain was on track for stronger growth. However, critics argued those same reports warned that even harsher tax measures could still be coming.
I want to hear the question. Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, they are laughing the same way they all laughed during the budget when they talked about raising NI. They have no idea what people out there are dealing with. And that is why yesterday we voted against his damaging jobs tax. Even former supporters, Chef Tom Carriage, who endorsed Labour at the election, said that the budget was catastrophic. He built a real business employing young people, unlike his cabinet of trade union stooges, CV embellishers, and an actual fraudster. None of them have ever run a business. Why won't he listen to business who are saying his budget is catastrophic?
Mr. Speaker, I thought the scripted jokes were over, but we had another one about lectures about the economy from the party opposite. They broke the economy, mortgages through the roof, and a £22 billion black hole. And she talks about national insurance. She complains about the rise in national insurance week after week. But then 2 weeks ago, she says that she wouldn't reverse it. She signed trade deals, Mr. Speaker, that had farmers protesting in Whitehall. Now she pretends that she's their champion. She campaigned to remove the cap on migrant worker visas, and now she pretends she's furious about the open borders policy of the last government.
Mr. Speaker, the fact is the Prime Minister has discarded his own Labour leadership promises. He's dropped the 5 missions he said would define his government. He's ditched his pledge to make Britain the fastest growing economy in the G7. We left office with UK the fastest growing economy in the G7. And business is saying he has damaged the economy with his budget. Tomorrow he's going to have an emergency reset, Mr. Speaker, just 5 months into his premiership. But why should anyone believe a word he says?
Here's where the political battle reached maximum intensity. The opposition tore apart the government's economic credibility, calling the latest budget catastrophic for businesses, workers, and ordinary families. Business owners, tax increases, rising national insurance costs, and accusations of betrayal dominated the closing moments of the exchange. The Prime Minister responded by accusing his opponents of wrecking the economy during their years in power, causing soaring mortgages, and leaving behind a massive financial black hole. But the final attack landed hard. The government was accused of abandoning nearly every major promise it once made, leaving one brutal question hanging over Parliament. Why should the public believe anything this Prime Minister says anymore?